Hellverine, issue number 5 from Marvel Comics. So Akihiro goes to hell in this issue. We start off with Akihiro drowning, which is what was happening in the last issue. And he says drowning is the worst death because our most basic instinct is to clear our lungs of fluid and take a big gulp of air. So the suffering goes straight to the deepest part of your brain. And I will agree with that. As someone who has almost drowned twice, drowning is not fun. Like, a lot of people seem to think that drowning is like one of the most peaceful ways to die. No, it is not. It is freaking terrifying. Like, not only have I drowned before, but like, I suffer from really bad anxiety. I've done a couple of videos on it in regards to comics, because there's a character named Jessica Cruz from DC Comics. She's a Green Lantern. She suffers from agoraphobia and anxiety and stuff. The same exact situation that I suffer from. And what I'm trying to get at is having a panic attack is terrible. It feels like you're dying. Like, it feels like you're losing control of yourself and you're dying at the same time. And I don't know if I would say even that is worse than drowning. Drowning is terrifying. It is one of the worst experiences I have ever suffered, ever. I don't know why I kind of went off on that little tangent. I guess just because, you know, Akihiro's talking about how drowning is one of the worst deaths. I wouldn't say it's the worst. I would say maybe like being slowly eaten alive or being burnt to death or something might be worse. But drowning is up there. It is not peaceful at all. It is terrifying. But yeah, he drowns and he goes to hell where he meets Mephisto. And Mephisto does some really gruesome body horror to Akihiro. Like, the first thing he does is he shoves his entire arm into Akihiro's mouth to rip off BAGRA-GHUL. So he rips BAGRA-GHUL literally out of Akihiro's body. And Akihiro's mouth is just open and just deformed. And just, it looks like one of those creatures from the Amnesia video game series with the large mouths. And then he uses BAGRA-GHUL to create body art out of Akihiro, like something straight out of Hellraiser. He just like chops him up into different body parts and kind of like strews him up with strings, almost like a marionette. And yeah, this just looks really gruesome as hell. Like, holy cow, this is horrifying. I kind of wish that the art was a little bit more realistic and less stylized, because then this could have really been something. Like, imagine, this is never going to happen, but imagine something like Junjo Ito illustrating this issue. That would have been so gruesome. But Mephisto is basically explaining about how he's trying to build something. He realizes that all the mutants are feared and hated because they're superior, and their evolution signals the diminishing power of mankind, of humans, regular humans, and how regular humans believe that they're eventually going to be enslaved and go extinct, and that mutants are going to be the next stage of evolution. They're going to take over. And so Mephisto wants to control mutant kind, because if he can control mutant kind, he can control the planet. And I like how his version of controlling mutant kind is basically just adding spikes to their gear. Like, they look exactly the same as they usually do, except they're just wearing some spiked bondage gear. And that's basically Mephisto's version of taking over. And I don't know, I just thought that was kind of funny. Like, I'm going to take over mutant kind by giving them Hot Topic clothing. All right, sounds great. Sounds like a good idea. But yeah, he wants Akihiro to basically join him, to be like the leader, not necessarily like the leader, but to kind of lead this new change. And so he does more body horror, only this time to fix Akihiro and put him back together again, and says, why don't you serve me and let's shape the world together. And Akihiro has a character growth where he discovers that right now, like, there's something purifying about losing everything, that you realize you don't matter. Now all that resentment and hurt and insecurities that I've been carrying for so long, they're gone. And now I'm no longer going to live for revenge. I'm no longer going to live for spite or power or anything like that. I'm not even going to live for myself. I'm going to do it for others. And so he tells BAGRA-GHUL to come to him. And Mephisto thinks that, oh, he's going to accept the offer. But instead, he pulls out his claws and he slashes at BAGRA-GHUL. And Mephisto is kind of chuckling at this. He's like, did you really think that you can topple an elemental figure with scratching? And Akihiro's like, I didn't cut to hurt, I cut him to mark. I basically used a possession cipher right out of the Book of Lamentations that Doctor Strange gave me. And now the demon is mine to claim. I control him now. You no longer have control over BAGRA-GHUL. And so he becomes the Hell Wolverine. And I was like, all right, this is actually pretty smart. I like this. Because that was like an issue that I kind of had, was the fact that he had this book. And he didn't really seem to do too much with it, outside of one issue where he used the book to learn that there's a symbol straight out of the book. But even then, he didn't really use the book to defeat the creature, which ended up being like a demonic version of his mom. Instead, he defeated that creature by just slashing its head off with his claws. So it's kind of like Doctor Strange gave him this book, and he's not doing anything really with the book. Now he finally does. He takes one of the symbols that he learned from the book to possess BAGRA-GHUL and now claim him as his own. And now he fully controls him without needing to worry about Mephisto being able to take the power away or control him or anything like that. So that was pretty cool. And then we get a fight between Akihiro and Mephisto. And I'm not going to spoil the rest of the issue. I will say that it looks like we're going to be going in a different direction. We are no longer going to be focusing on Akihiro fighting personifications of the negative taint that he's left behind in different places. So like in previous issues, he had to fight the taint of losing his mom. In the last issue, it was the taint of like where he drowned, where he died. And like those, basically something kind of like right out of The Grudge, or just Japanese horror in general, especially their ghost stories, where negative emotions leave a stain and draw more negativity to that area. And in previous issues, that negativity would be personified as demons that Akihiro would fight. And I thought that was a really cool idea. And I kind of wish that they had stuck with that idea a little bit more, because I would like to see more of where that would go. Because it's just such a cool premise that basically all the negativity, all the hurts, all the just negative emotions and stuff that Akihiro is suffering are now being personified in the areas that he's left that mark. And so he's literally going around and fighting his demons, like his inner demons. His inner demons are literally manifesting into literal physical demons that he has to battle. And that's just such a cool concept. And I feel like it didn't really get to play out as much as it could have. Like you could have taken that idea a lot longer, and rather than like rushing Akihiro being fixed mentally and overcoming his issues, it could have been just like a slow burn of him dealing with his inner emotions and all the struggles and stuff. Because again, as someone who suffers from mental health issues, it is a very hard battle. And even on days where I have victories, there are still days where I have defeats. It's a never-ending battle. It's something that's never going to go away. The best I can do is manage it. And even then, I'll have relapses and stuff. So to see him overcome it so easily, I'm not going to say that like it bothers me in the sense that's, seeing him overcome it when I can, so much as it kind of bothers me more from a writing perspective, because like this really could have been something that you could have just, I hate to use the word drag because that sounds kind of negative, but it's something explore. You could have explored this idea a lot more and really go between him dealing with physical battles as well as mental and emotional and spiritual battles at the same time. It could have been something like that. But without spoiling, the way this issue ends, it looks like we're completely dropping that concept. And now he's just going to be fighting hell-powered versions of mutants. And it's like, okay. Like you had this like really cool concept, and now you're just getting rid of it to kind of turn the series into your basic superhero story, which is kind of a bummer. I'm going to see where it goes, because, I like Benjamin Percy's writing and stuff like that. But he does have some faults. One of them feels like he like rushes things. Like he rushes through his arcs. And if this is the end of an arc, it is definitely rushed. And the fact that we're completely dropping this concept and moving on to a completely different thing, it's not the greatest idea in my opinion. I would have liked it if they had focused more on his mental, spiritual battles while also having to physically battle his issues. Like that could have been a really cool concept if you had explored it a lot more rather than just rushing through it really quickly like you did. But there you go. There's Hellverine issue number 5. Some things that I enjoyed, some things I didn't. Not really a fan of the change that the story is going to be going from now on. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'm going to be wrong and Benjamin Percy is going to do something that I actually really like. Like he could prove me wrong. That's happened in the past with Ultra Mega, where I really disliked the whole going into the post-apocalyptic time skip. But as I continued to read it, I realized that no, actually this was a really good decision to go with and it's awesome. So maybe that's going to be what's going to happen here where at first I think this is a poor decision, but as I read the next issue, maybe it's going to be the right decision to have done. But at this point in time, I don't care for that decision. So yeah, there you go. Hellverine, issue number 5 from Marvel Comics. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.